Hello everybody, welcome back to the, I guess this is technically the fourth because I did a 2.5, but the final session 3 for our Let's Build stream. So this one, let's see, we got all the blueprinting done, we got our visual stuff done. Yes, 2.5 and 3 will be on the CurseForge channel. So the last and final thing we would want to do is get the mod uploaded, test any possible issues we have with any systems, and then upload it to CurseForge and let people use it. So, assuming everything else is in place, back in session 1, I said there was a few essential items. We had our mod data asset, and we had our primal game data asset, and we had a level. So if I were to open this level, which is just called acro, you'll see there's nothing here, which is fine. That's how it should be. But if I come over to the level's world settings on the right side over here, I see under primal game data override, I have the primal game data here that I made for this mod, right? And that's good because when a mod loads, generally what it does is it's loading the level that has those assets in it, and it kind of just loads those to memory. So we have both of those. And in ASE, we didn't have a mod data asset. All we had was the level and the primal game data. And the primal game data is where we put all of our info. But primal game data is a big blueprint. It loads like all the super essentials for the game. So it takes a long time to load. So fortunately with ASA, what we have now is a thing called a mod data asset. And this is basically just a dumbed down primal game data blueprint that is specifically for any mod related stuff, and I can walk through that. Well, I'm going to walk through that today. So I'm going to just go back to test map area, and let's see. So we're going to open that, and you see it loads real nice and quick. And immediately, it's not really a big blueprint. It's actually just a lot of arrays when you look at it, but it is all really important info. So, by default, the mod name, which I don't believe I can change, yeah, it's going to just be whatever the mod name was when you first created the mod under the little UGC menu. This one up here. Let's see, we have mod description, mod icon, default game mode. Those things, for other types of mods, you can change those. It depends on the type of mod you're doing. For the sake of this stream, for a creature mod, you don't need to mess with them. There's only a few specific ones that we want to mess with. Oh, actually, okay, I almost forgot to hit record. Okay. I guess I can just end the stream after. But, yeah, I'll just do that. So, where was I? So the next one that we have immediately is engrams, and we have an additional engram blueprint classes. So all this does is you're going to see a lot of these are like additional structures, additional buff, additional map item, blah, 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 right? What it's doing is it's just additional arrays for the core game ones already. So when you see additional engram blueprint classes, what that means is, you know, the game already has like your torch, your wooden structures, your mortar and pestle. Those are default engrams. So what this option is doing is it's allowing you to add extra engrams to those that will be tied to the mod. The mod data asset doesn't get created when I create a mod. How do I make it manually? To create, so what I typically do for future reference is when you go to create mod, you see there's empty mod and there's blank mod. Empty mod is not going to create anything for you. What I typically do is I start with a blank mod because what that's going to do is that's going to make a mod data asset, a level, and a primal game data that are already all linked to each other, and then you can just rename them, and you can delete any of the other stuff that it makes. But if you are starting completely from scratch, I believe... let me see. It's under a weird one here. Is it this? Yeah, data asset. So if you right-click and come under miscellaneous for creating advanced asset, you will see data asset right here. And then all you do is click that, and it'll give you a bunch of different ones. And we would just click mod data asset to be the parent, right? And then just hit select, and it'll make that there. That's how you create it. Going back to what I was saying, so additional engram classes. So in this case, for my acro, I have its saddle. I want you to be able to craft its saddle. So under additional engram blueprint classes, I've added an array, and I have the blueprint link to acro's engram saddle. I can also remove engrams if I wanted to. So let's say maybe for... I don't know, primitive plus is an example. That's probably removing things like the fabricator and stuff. So like you could block those out here, just plugging them in. We have remap engrams. So maybe if you're doing like a overhaul mod, like let's say you wanted to change Argentavis a saddle, so it wasn't a smithy, but it was also a fabricator. Maybe it did both, right? So what you could do is you could open that one up, and you'll see we have from class and to class. So in this case, I would put Argentavis saddle there. And then the modded saddle that I made that was like a fabricator, I would put it in the to class. So all it's doing there is it's fetching the one reference and it's swapping it for another. Let's see. Was the saddle... Yes, I believe the saddle was in 2.5. Structures, again, we're making a creature. We don't really need to worry about that. If, let's say, you were making a boss creature and it gave like some kind of structure engram as a reward, Savage Acro, let's say, it gives the flag, you would plug that in here. And it works the same way as the engram. It's literally just you are referencing a blueprint that you've created. It's very easy. Coming to eggs, we don't need to worry about eggs here because we've already created those classes in the character BP, and they're being referenced there. Coming down, we have additional dino entries. So we have one here, and this is the dino entry Acrocanthosaurus. And that's the little thing that shows like its name tag when you're looking at it through like viewfinder or scope or whatever. It shows the little HUD icon when you're looking at the little HUD widget deal, whatever it's called. Again, just plugging in that reference, nice and easy. Scrolling through these, buff process effects, baby setups. So, excuse me. I don't have baby setups set up for Acro yet, but baby setups is the... You know when a dino's a baby and it's kind of got that weird chibi, like the head is really big, the eyes are big, the feet are big, like the proportional changes? That's what this is. So if I come into dino baby setups, I'm going to add a element here, and it's looking for dino name tag. So I believe, let me double check. Acro is just acro. So what I would do is this is linked via tag. So I would just pop in acro there, and then we have our baby bone modifier ranges. And this is where we would just do the bone adjustments. So if I were to come in here, effects leg length, use extra max. These settings, typically what you can do, what I do in my case, is I actually just kind of look at other creatures, how their baby setups are, because sometimes it doesn't always make sense. It's kind of just strange modular values here. So in this case, what you would probably do is you would open a regular primal game data blueprint, look at the dino setups there, and then let's say, you know, Acro's pretty close to Rex. So you'd probably just open Rex's Dino Baby setup here and kind of just cross-reference the settings. But you see we have like length multiplier, blah, 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 bone array, which is where we would add the actual bones. So we have bone name, minimum scale, maximum scale, translation, so on and so forth. Global fat remap, I don't know what that does. That's interesting. And you would just kind of, tweak those values. And you can test it in the kit by spawning a tame version of your creature and converting it into a baby, right? And that would be an easy way to test. For now, I'm going to just minimize those. Let's see, gestation setups, same thing. So if instead of a egg, you were having a, like a mammal that had the baby internally, you would do those edits there. I don't know why my nose is so itchy during these streams. It's weird. I think my mustache is just tickling my nose when I'm talking. Unlockable emotes, emote groups, additional animations prevent input. That's interesting. That must be for the player. Hair, extra resources. It all is pretty self-explanatory. You would just plug in those references if you had them in your mod. Coming down. So here we have the NPC tab, and this is the really big one. So this is the one that controls spawns. If you don't have your character blueprint plugged in here, I think it's different in ASA with how mods work, but in ASE, if you didn't have your character plugged into these, it would not cook with your mod upload. So you would just actually not have the creature like loaded into the mod at all. There wouldn't be a way to load it. So even if you don't want the creature to spawn naturally, you need to have it. In my experience, again, ASA may be different, but in my experience, you need to have the creature loaded here in some way. You can use a spawner that's just not actually spawning creatures. You can just turn their spawn chance to 0. As long as it's referenced in here, it will be in the mod data. So with that being said, spawn entries containers are a default blueprint that the game uses. How this system works in the mod data asset is you are basically picking a specific spawn entry container class, referencing it, and then you are adding additional NPC entries to it. So in this case, I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'll just go through Acro's first one listed here in the array, which is the redwoods. So Acros spawn in redwoods. So all I do here is under this spawn entries container class, you see this is where all the different spawn containers for the game are. And all we're doing is we are just picking a container we want our creature to spawn in. So in my case, I want Acro to spawn in the redwoods. But maybe you created a fish and you want it to spawn in the ocean, so you would just pick the ocean spawner. Or maybe maybe you want them to spawn in caves. We have cave 1, cave 2. We have a bunch of different caves here. Cave Megalo, which is where Megalania spawn in caves. Or that might be Megalosaurus. Yeah, that's what that one is. But anyway, you would place your spawn entries in here for where you want the creature to spawn. And then next, we have 2 little tabs here. We have additional NPC spawn entries, and we have additional NPC spawn limits. So the first one we're going to be looking at is the entries, and I'm going to expand that here. And what's important to note is, let's say you have a mod that's adding multiple types of creatures. So in my case, under index 0 is specifically for Acro because that's all this mod is. But I could have multiple indexes in here. So let's say, for example, when I had the mod pack in ASE and I had every single creature in one mod, right? I had a redwood spawner, and then index 0 was maybe Acro, and index 1, the second one, was Brachy. You can have multiple creatures in one index here. Basically, you're tying whatever number of creatures to one specific spawn zone. So in this case, I have redwoods, and under additional NPC spawn entries, I can add any number or variation of types of creatures under here. But again, in the case of this demonstration, we have just acro. So right here under an entry name, I have acro, and it says in parentheses 1 to 2. And that's just for my own reference. That's just to let me know that there can be, at minimum 1 acro, maximum 2 can spawn in this entry here. And the very first one we have here is NPCs to spawn, and it's another array, so we can add elements to this array. And in the first index, I have an acro character BP, which is the actual NPC's character reference. And then in index 1, I have a second one. And the reason for that is this spawn is basically, you're setting a NPC to spawn, right? And so what you can do is you can actually have a multitude of different NPCs here if you wanted to. So in this case, I have index 0 is regular acro. And then in index 1, if maybe I had an acro variant, let's say like X acro or something, I could plug that character BP in here. And what that would mean is whenever both of these spawns trigger, it will always spawn 1 regular acro and 1 bog acro or X acro. But in my case, we just have the one type, so we're just going to have 2 of those references here. The next settings we can ignore: spawn strings, random spawn class weights. We're going to come down to spawn offsets. Now, spawn offsets is just so let's say we have a full map of the redwoods specifically, and there is one particular spot, like a spawn container, where creatures are spawning. What this is doing, this is mostly for if you're having multiple creatures spawn, it's so they don't spawn on top of each other and overlap and get stuck. So in this case, I have the 2 acros, right? So the first one, its index for its offset is 0, 0, 0. That means it's not moving. It's going to be in the origin location of the spawn container. The second one I have here has an offset of -340. And all that means is, let's say acro 1 is right here. This is an origin 0, 0, 0. Acro 2 is going to be, depending on the XYZ, it's going to be offset by that much instead of it just being on top, right? So I have -340, so it's probably -340 units to the left. So when they spawn next to each other instead of on top of each other. And that's all the spawn offset is doing there. Next we have NPCs to spawn percentage chance. So what this... Okay, so this can be a little confusing. So there's actually 2 things you want to worry about with this. We have spawn entry percentage chance, and then when we scroll down, we have something called entry weight. Now, these kind of work together. Now, what's important to note is entry weight is basically the chance of it spawning relative to every other spawner in the container. So entry weight is accounting for everything else in the redwoods. It's accounting for terror birds. It's accounting for Rex, for Brontos, for Diplo. It's a percentage that it's checking against all of those other creatures. So in Acro's case, I want it relatively rarer, right? So I have a very small value of 0.025. There's not really a surefire way to just know what values are good and what aren't. So typically what I do is I actually open the NPC spawn container blueprint. So if I just open the redwoods one here, you'll see we have all these different entries. So we have Pteranodon, we have Carno, ants, Doed, Parasaur. And you'll see under all of these I have different entry weights. So Parasaur is 0.05. Diplodocus is 0.1. So what that means is Diplodocus has a higher chance of spawning than a Parasaur. We have Gallimimus, that's 0.1, so they have about the same chance of spawning as a Diplo. We have Terrorbirds, they're 0.06. So they are slightly more common than a Parasaur, but more rare than a Diplo. So what it's doing is it's checking all of these entries together, and it's kind of just comparing them and doing a random roll of which one it wants to do. So the higher the entry weight, the more likely it's going to roll that spawn, if that makes sense. Now, knowing what entry weight does, we come to the spawn percentage chance. Now, why these work together is, let's say the entry weight gets rolled and an acro is going to spawn. Now what it's going to do is it's going to reference the spawn percentage chance. Now here, under NPCs to spawn percentage chance for index 0, I have 1. So what that means is whenever this entry rolls, the first acro that's plugged in index 0 here under this NPC is guaranteed to spawn as long as entry weight rolls. Now the second one here, you see I have 0.5. So what that means is every time this entry rolls and acros are spawning, there is only going to be a 50% chance that the second acro in this entry is going to spawn. It's not guaranteed. So in theory, if you had like multiple numbers of dinos, let's say you wanted to make a pack dino and it could have a maximum of 4 spawn, right? So you could have index 0 be 1. You could have index 1 be 0.8, or maybe if you always want 2 to spawn, you can have it as 1 at 1 as well, and that will mean that 2 of them will always spawn. For index 2, you could have that be 0.8, 0.6, so that means it's still very likely for it to spawn, but it might not. It might only just be the 2, and then you get the idea. How do you randomize what gender the creature is spawned in as? That's done in the character blueprint. There's a float value, I believe, that's percentage chance is female. And you can just change that to whether you want it to be more likely female or more likely male. But that's done in the character blueprint. Let's see. So we have that, we have the spawn percentage chance, we have the entry weight, and the rest of these settings you don't really need to mess with. There's a few, maybe like if you're interested, let's say color sets, for example, here. So the random color sets are already in the character blueprint, but let's say maybe you're creating a spawn zone for a special type of your character. So maybe the acros in the redwoods, I want to be their own type of color, and I don't want them to look the same as acros that spawn in the plains. So I can do that. So I can plug that here in the color sets, and what that'll do is instead of picking their character blueprint color set, it will pick specifically from that one. It will overwrite it. We have something like NPC difficulty level ranges. This is mostly for things like caves. It just adjusts the level offset. So if you're having like a default game of like, 1 to 150 is the max level, then you can offset that here. So like maybe predominantly those creatures are spawning at a higher level, maybe even higher level than the level cap, right? That's where you would set that. We have a few other settings here. Spawn minimum distance from structures, spawn minimum distance from players, spawn minimum distance from tamed dinos. All that means is there's a certain distance offset from those different things that you can set there. Again, not really a setting that I mess with. You don't really need to. And with that, we have redwoods spawns. So I'm going to minimize that, and then you see we have the other indexes. So in Acro's case, I have entries mountain, and that's Acro's mountain spawns. We have Monster Island, or Carnivore Island, Acro spawns. We have grasslands, so Acros can spawn in the grasslands as well. And with that, I believe that's pretty much what's there for the mod data asset. And a really easy, surefire way that you can test this, I'm going to try to load the island and cross my fingers it doesn't take 20 million years, is you can just enable NPC spawns in the island level and plug your primal game data BP into that level. And you should see, when you run around the game, your NPC spawning. So I'm going to give it just a minute. Hopefully it doesn't take a million years. And yeah, I don't think there's too much more to say about a mod data asset. It looks like it is loading a lot. Oh boy. Hopefully it was fast. So what I will do is I'm going to go to this and I'm going to grab my primal game data. I'm going to plug it into the override here. And then at the very top, I have two settings. I have editor enable NPC spawners. I'm going to check that. I have editor force disable NPC spawners. I'm going to uncheck that. And I'm going to save, and this will probably take a few minutes because it's going to try and be spawning everything on the island in the dev kit, which is pretty intense for the computer. So let's try that and see how that goes. But with that out of the way for your mod data asset, at that point, that is when you would want to start cooking if there's no other issues, which I think with the blueprinting 2.5, I kind of showed how you can check for issues and things, but I'll show that again once this little segment is done loading. I just want to show that you can verify spawns work with this. Ooh, I'm starving. I gotta order lunch or something. So I guess while we wait for my computer to detonate, if anybody has any questions in regards to mod data asset or primal game data, setting those settings up, what are your thoughts on Gigantoraptor? I don't know. I haven't used it. It looks nice. I'm curious how they have the feather physics set up. I would like to see how they have that set up, rather. But otherwise, I don't know. I haven't used it. It looks nice. Oh, maybe this won't take too long. So, yeah, I don't really know what to say while I wait for this to load. I don't imagine this stream is going to be a full 2 hours, because I can only talk so much about, like, cooking the mod and stuff. Oh, wow, that loaded faster than I thought. Okay, so I'm going to just hop into GCM quick. It will probably take a moment for creatures to start spawning. Bear with me. You're going to hear a lot of animal sounds. I don't really know why the dev kit does this, but when a creature spawns and the player's in proximity to them, it has a thing called a proximity sound that plays, and it's going to do that a million times because creatures are spawning. So this is going to sound really rough, probably, as I start flying around. You'll know what I'm talking about in a sec when I start moving and you see the spawns happening. Oh, and look at that. Immediately we got 2 acros. We got some dimorphs. So I can kind of just start flying around this level. My computer is considering blowing up. I think it's going to. Testing NPC spawns can be really intense for a... I have a very strong computer, and this is very intense. So if you have a not incredibly amazing computer, this might be a little not a good idea. It might just be better to kind of hope for the best and cook out an update, and then you can test spawns endgame. And there's all the sounds I was talking about. So we'll just keep flying around. Let's see, we got a Diplo. Galley getting chased by terror birds. And as we move around, it's going to keep spawning creatures, which is why the sounds are happening. Oh, I have desktop audio muted. That's why you weren't hearing anything. There you go. Doesn't it sound wonderful? So we got some theories. And the reason it keeps hiccuping is because I keep moving to a new spot and it's loading all the creatures in that area. It's literally doing all the spawns as I move around. So we see a Rex there. Let's see, there's probably an Acro somewhere around here. There's one. It's fighting that Bronto. Acro is teaming up with the Rex. I wish they didn't do that. He was going for me and he decided against it. So let's see, we got a Stego. Let's see if we can find one more Acro. Just want to torture you guys with all these wonderful sounds. Oh, we're loading swamp materials. Must be for the swamp cave. I don't think I did go over the death ragdolling stuff. I think I mention it because there is a walkthrough for it that I would recommend checking out because it's too thorough for me to cover in a stream. There's a lot. They still haven't fixed that. If any, oh, there's an Acro. If anyone from Wildcard is in the stream, there's a weird issue where Kentro's win components are visible. I don't think that is something I did. I think that's just a thing the dev kit does. But there we go. So we have an Acro. And now my computer's gonna blow up. I believe if you went on Google and you searched ARK ASA Death Ragdoll Guide. Let's see, will that be the first thing that pop up? Yep, there you go. So under ARK Dev Kit Docs, it was this one here. So we have the whole system, ground conform, setting up the puppet physics, physics outline. That is all here. It is devkit.studiowildcard.com and then systems tools. But yeah, it's a really involved system, so it's not something I can cover in a stream, unfortunately. So cool, we have Acros. So we know they spawn. They might be spawning too much. That might be too common. And so we know that's working. So I'm gonna turn those settings back off so I don't get caught off guard. And I'm going to just load back to the regular test map area so my computer does not kill itself. So with that, I think we're just about ready to upload. Again, I kind of talked about it in the blueprint videos, but if there's any issues or anything you foresee, you would just test those live in Pi. What's important to note is you need to cross-reference between single player and client server gameplay, because you will notice a lot of different changes there depending on what's going on and how you have blueprints and stuff set up. If you're just starting out and you're not really doing any sort of crazy blueprinting, you probably won't need to worry about a lot of the server side issues that could or could not happen. But in our case, all you would do is before you hit play, you would go to net mode, and standalone is single player, and you would want to set it to client, which is how you can test server side issues. So that would just be kind of going back to what I talked about in the blueprint video, I believe 2.5 specifically, where you can do things like breakpoints and kind of just cross-reference any issues that might be occurring. So, in a perfect world, let's say everything is fine and dandy and we're ready to upload our mod. So, what we would do is we would come up to our UGC menu here, and the very first option we have is Share Mod, and we have the little anvil next to it. I'm going to click that. And that's unfortunate. It's asking me to do that now. So sometimes it may ask you to enter your email if for some reason it's forgetting what my account is. So I'm going to enter this off screen because obviously I'm not going to show everyone my email. And I'm going to enter that. It is going to send me a code to verify. I will also be doing that off stream. Actually, I guess I can just load that on my phone, huh? Let's see where. Should have gotten an email. There we go. Okay. And so now I'm signed in. So normally you would probably see this menu here. Now, you're going to see a few different options here. In my case, I already have a version of Acro uploaded, so it's going to show me something different. So I'm going to put a different one here. Let's say Garuga Let's Build, because I never published that. And we have Select Platform, which is these here. So by default, it should only do PC only. If you check cross-platform, it is going to cook the mod for PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. We have the name of the mod here. That's, well, the mod that we're wanting to upload. So in our case, let's just say Let's Build for the sake of this. Mod name, which is how the mod will actually display on CurseForge and in-game. So I could just do ARK Ascended Let's Build. I could have that as the mod. Upload image if I wanted to maybe have a specific thumbnail. So in my case with like Serato, I think his thing is, yeah, somewhere in his mod. We would put that there. Custom cosmetics. Oh, this is the tag for the mod. So in our case, we would want to put it under creatures. Mod summary, which is kind of just the brief summary you see in game. Which, let's see. Mod description should be briefly explain what the mod is at a minimum. Failure to do so may result in the mod being removed from the mod browser. The product of our Let's Build stream. And then mod description, which is the actual proper description you would see on CurseForge. And I'm not going to hit continue or anything or try to upload this because, you know, there's no content in this. So I'm just going to jump back to Acro. Are there specific things we should consider for cross-platform mods that are different from PC only? The biggest thing I would say is just controller inputs. That's been kind of a problem for me so far with creature stuff. Is if you're having custom attacks and stuff. Actually, that's the only time you need to worry about it, is if you have custom inputs. If you're starting out, you don't need to worry about it. But attacks and different controls, for some reason there's a big deviation between PC and controller layouts. I'm not sure why, but that would be the biggest thing to worry about. Other than that, I don't think there's really much issue. I think most of it is handled game side. So with that, let's go back to the let's build. So we have all that info there. We would hit continue, and then what's going to happen is it's going to try and upload the mod. Oh, before I forget, which one is it? Is it this one? No. Is it this one? Yes, it is. Okay. So, right here, we have this little A button for ARK. I'm going to open that. That's going to open a UGC settings menu. And what that's going to do is, this is where you can set up different settings for how it looks in-game. So when you select the mod in-game, you know how it has this little sort of banner with the preview text and stuff? That's how you can set that up. So in my case, if I go to Cerato, you see we have the adds the spiky Ceratosaurus to your world. And for some reason, it doesn't show the actual image here. I think it's just a bug with the system right now. It should. But we actually have a lot of new settings here I'm not familiar with. So we have map mob, stuff like that. Will it show the image for any of that? Guess not. But all you would do is enter those settings and do save changes, and that's going to actually save it to a file on your computer, just to reference whenever it cooks. So with that, let's assume we're ready to hit cook, and we would hit continue, and it will show a little, your mod is cooking. It'll show the upload chance. I'll do this for Acro just to show an example. Actually, give me 1 sec. I think I might have a good way that I can demonstrate something. Okay, so let's say, for example, so I have a document that me and some buddies have to report bugs for the mod, right? So I have one here that I could fix pretty easily. Acro's going in the shield stance when it's unconscious. So what I can do is I can open Acro's character blueprint. Should be a pretty easy bug fix. I'm going to assume that's based on the actual damage which is occurring. It has rider false, has adrenaline false. So what I will do is, in front of all of these, actually, what I'm looking at here is the graph that dictates how Acro's received damage is handled. So I'm going to just add a branch, and I'm going to say sleeping. So if Acro is sleeping, I'm going to cast this out here. Where did it get those? Weird. I just wanted the reroute node. There we go. So I'm going to cast that over here. I'm going to pull that over there. And I'll just pop it in over here because I don't think we need to worry about roaring in that case. And plug it in right there. So what that's going to do, if Acro's sleeping, it's just going to ignore all of this blueprint stuff, and it's just going to go straight to the regular damage output. So that issue's probably fixed. So in this case, when I do share mod, where did that menu go? There it is. Fixed issue where Acro was using damage adrenaline calculations while sleeping. So typically, in my case, I have a mod uploaded already, right? So in my case, I have to have changelog info, otherwise I can't upload. But assume that this is a completely new mod and I'm cooking it. So I would hit continue. You're going to see success. Your mod upload has started. You can follow the progress and publish the mod under projects and your CurseForge account. So there it goes. Now it's starting to do the cook. So we can see it is uploading the data to CurseForge. So we would just wait a moment. I'm going to preface too, I saw a bunch of people thinking I'm releasing Acro today. I'm not releasing Acro today. It still needs bug testing. So if anyone was thinking that was going to happen today, no, it's not. I can understand why maybe some people thought that, but that's not the case. Acro is still being tested. So with that, we're going to just wait for this upload to happen. Once it's done, it should allow us to click a link to our mod as it's cooking. So we'll wait just a moment for that to happen. So on my dock, I'm going to just change the color of this because I believe that should be fixed now. And it'll just take a minute just because, you know, it's a full character. It's got a lot of stuff in it, so. Does anyone have any questions while I wait for this to... how do you fix bugs in a mod? You would, it depends on the bug. I mean, you would, you know, have some testing. If you encounter an issue, I don't know, make a note of the issue and then try to figure out what's causing it. Try to recreate the issue, and if you can figure out what it is that's, you know, in the steps, what's causing it, you would just change that. Yeah. How do I make a creature having a night boost akin to Troodon? I believe what Troodon does is it's checking the time of day in its character blueprint, and then when it's a specific threshold, it gives itself a buff. Either that, or it just always has a passive buff, and the buff is checking for the time of day, which might be more likely. So after that's done, you see your mod was successfully uploaded. Gonna hit OK, and then I can go to project. So right here, I have my Acro mod. It is not public, which is why you guys can't see it. So we have adds Acrocanthosaurus from ARK Editions. That's just the mod description I had when I uploaded it. And this is the CurseForge site, by the way. This is the back end. This is how it should look. If we go to Files, we will see all the different uploads that I had. Now, what's very important to note here, so this is the one I just uploaded, so you can see right now the current status of the mod is processing. So this will take anywhere from 20 minutes to several hours, depending on the size and complexity of the mod. And it will update you here as it occurs. So you see under my little notifications, I have status of Acro source has been changed to processing. If I click that, I can see this is where my changelog is. So I can see if for example, you are wanting to download a mod and you want to know what things have been changed in an update, you can find that here. I can click any of these and I can see the different changelogs. And you'll see under these files, what it's going to show is different assets. So in this case, this Acro that's already cooked, we have Windows Server and Windows. And the Windows one here is the actual file that ARK, geez, I had a brain fart, that the game is going to be loading or downloading when you add this mod to your game. And you'll see, again, it says ready for review, ready for review. If you are cross-platform cooking, which let me go to, hopefully I don't show any like questionable stuff here. I'll go to Serato. Oh, whoops. I just go to the mod. There we go. So we see the actual description for the mod as you see it in game. If I come under files here, you'll see these are all the different uploads. And let's see, these are all... Is this a weird backend? Am I crazy? Hold on. Okay. So I'm going to just say CurseForge has a new site layout that seems to maybe have a few issues with how mod info is displayed. So for future reference for anyone, and if CurseForge people are here in the video, I think this is important. There's a lot of info that us modders aren't able to see in your new layout. So for anyone that is having issues with that, what I just did was I came up to the URL here, and all I did was I typed in legacy before CurseForge. So if I go back, you see it's just curseforge.com and then the link. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove the www and just type in legacy dot. And that will take me to the old site where I can actually see a lot of this info. So now with Serato, if I click this, I can see the changelog and I can see the files that were uploaded. So Serato is cross-platform, right? So we have Windows, and then we also have Xbox and PS5, and those are the different files there that are being downloaded. Which I didn't know you could see the downloads through... Huh, PS5 has more downloads for Serato. That's cool. But that's how you can check that. The reason I think Acro is showing up that way is because it's not actually published. So it's still showing up as legacy. That's why this is a new project until approved by moderator, blah, blah, blah. Now, what's important to note with all that, you know, your mod is cooking and everything. You'll have to wait for that to cook. And then when it's done, if you have no issues, you will see a thing under status that says ready for review. Now, at this point, what this means is you, the mod creator, if your CurseForge is linked to Steam or PlayStation or Xbox or whatever platform you use to play ARK, if you go in-game to My Mods, you should see your mod there. Your mod will not be available publicly. Other people will not be able to see the mod. In my case for Acro, I have a few people I have listed as testers. They can also see the mod in game under their My Mods menu. If I want the mod to become public, I would hit this button here, which is Publish Build. I can only do that when Ready for Review is available. That's the status of the mod. So once I click that button, Publish, the mod will become public and anybody will be able to download it and access it. I believe when you hit Publish, though, you also need a CurseForge person to approve it. So if, let's say, you're using a mod that's using, like, I don't know, if you're using like a Pokemon mod or something and it's literally using like Pokemon assets, CurseForge probably isn't going to let that publish when you try to post it. I believe that button checks it for a CurseForge person to check and kind of make sure the mod is safe and not breaking copyright and things like that, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. With that said, I don't know what else there is to cover. Your mod would be uploaded. You can try it in game. You can test it. So let's see. I'm gonna assume. Yeah, there's my ARK's gonna need to be updated. There's no way I'll be able to show that on stream. So with that, that is how you upload a mod. That's all of our session stuff. So pretty exciting. So I'm trying to think if there's anything I didn't cover. So with that, I guess I'll leave it open if anyone has any questions for specific things. Any questions in regards to making a creature, uploading the mod, things of that nature. I can answer them now. Otherwise, we're about done with the stream. Only about an hour long. Much shorter content. How do you get the funky layered map for the material instance? I assume you run Substance Painter, so what export option gives us that map? I think that would be better for... That's a little more involved. I don't think I could fit that into a stream like this or segue it appropriately. But it is a custom export option that you would have to set up. What I can tell you is how it works is a layered map is 3 different maps being exported on top of each other. What you need to do is in Substance, you need to tie the different red, green, blue channels to a specific texture. It sounds bad. It's actually not that bad. The red channel is your metallic or cavity map in Substance. So you would want to use your metallic in that case. Your green channel would be roughness, which is just like how shiny the object is. And which I think I think there's a way to actually show that now. Let me see. Macro layered. Yeah, cool. I can. So this is Acro's layered map. So if I turn these off, we have our red channel, which is our cavity map. So this is basically just like the shininess and darkness. So in Acro's case, like, you know, the areas between the scales and stuff, we want a little darker, not as shiny. That is going to be your red channel on your layer. The next we have is the roughness, which is our green channel. And this is just kind of also a type of like shininess specularity. In this case, it's working reverse. So the wider it is, the less light is going to bounce off it. It's going to absorb more light. It's going to be more rough. So in this case, like the top of Acro scales are pretty shiny in this case, where we have things like the tongue. If we look over there, Acro's tongue is much darker. It should be much shinier. It should look wetter. And then lastly, the blue channel is very easy. It's the ambient occlusion. And that's all layered map is. And then I forget what the alpha, in this case the alpha is nothing. So yeah, is there a good tutorial on how to properly export that somewhere? I believe I have a substance tutorial on YouTube. It might be a little not accurate now because ASA stuff changed a little bit, but I believe I have a tutorial on my YouTube channel. So let's see. Are there any other questions? Okay, I'm gonna assume no. What I'll do to wrap up the stream is I'll say, if this stream was helpful to anyone, even if you're not interested in modding, but you enjoyed learning the process of modding, please let Wildcard and CurseForge know that there's a demand for this, that people like to see this content. If they hear that from enough people, there may be more streams like this. I could maybe have a stream where I talk specifically about how I texture in Substance Painter. I can have a stream about how I model. Lots of different streams, right? So if you enjoyed these streams, your feedback is important. Please let folks at Wildcard or CurseForge know. And, you know, maybe I can chat with them and we can have more streams like this in the future. With that being said, I think this brings us to about an end for our Let's Build session. Again, I hope this was helpful for anyone that was interested in modding a creature or modding in general. I hope this was a nice gateway for you. And if you're not interested in modding, again, I appreciate the interest in modding. It is a very involved process. Especially in the case of ARK, where we have basically the whole game's backend at our disposal. A lot of work and sweat and tears goes into creating this content. And I think I speak for most modders when I say that, as far as ARK anyway. So with that, everyone, I'm going to close it off here with thank you very much for joining in these Let's Build sessions. And hopefully there'll be more tutorial sessions in the future. And yeah, I hope to see everyone again soon. Unrelated to the Let's Builds, I'll probably start Twitch streaming again sometime this week. I'll be working on Amalocharus. And yeah, that about wraps it up, everyone. So I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day or night or whatever time it is for you. And I will see you all whenever I do the next stream. So take care, everyone. Good rest of your day.